Hello, everyone, and welcome to
Lost to the.
Tonight's guest
Tonight's
is Doc.
guest is Doc.
Repeat that again. Sorry,
Repeat that
a little
again.
bit of
Sorry,
an
a little bit of an.
had a little bit of trouble
Had a
last week
little
with it,
trouble
but
last week with it, but we're
Yep.
tonight's guest is
tonight's
Dr.
guest
Dennis
is Dr. Dennis
Hunting the Shadows.
Hunting the Shadows.
Investigator, you are
Investigator, you are
a deep knowledgeist
deep knowledgeist
and published
and
author.
published author.
Welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you, Josh. Good to be here. As a podcaster myself, I do a lot of podcasting, so I'm used to the way the shows go and all that. To me, it's a fascinating thing. I was telling somebody the other day that I would love to have had some kind of medium like this many years ago. I've been involved in the paranormal and all that now for well over half a century, and I was paranormal. It's like that song goes, before paranormal was cool. Okay, and so that's kind of like take on that song, the country before country was cool kind of thing. But I've been involved in it a long time, and I was telling somebody the other day. Once upon a time, you didn't even talk about subjects like this in public. They were like ready to put you in a rubber room somewhere or something. They thought you were ready for the funny farm or something. But now you've got a different atmosphere. People are getting stuff out in the open and talking about it. And that's good because that fosters a transference of knowledge and stuff. And that's always good when that happens.
I 100% agree
I
with you.
100% agree with you.
Oh yeah, it's to me. Since I've been involved in this since I was I really got into it big time when I was about 14 years old, and it happened to me. I had a couple of slight paranormal encounters before then, but that was the big one. I was about 14 years old, and it happened. It happened during a church service, and as a matter of fact, I didn't know what was going on, but something was going on with a piano player up the front of the church. And the pastor told everybody to kind of close your eyes. They were going to pray for this man because he had something bad going wrong with him. And he wasn't acting right. He was acting very strange or something. And so I didn't do that, though. I kept watching. And what I saw really changed my life completely. But I saw three demonic spirits come out of this man. And they went through the wall next to him there, one at a time, 1, 2, 3. And the best way I can describe them, Josh, is that they were like soccer size, dirty balls of light, dirty light. Like it wasn't a bright kind of light. Well, what I was seeing then, I didn't understand what it was, and I found out many years later it was sort of a spiritual type energy. That's what these things can manifest into. They can take different shapes, different forms. They can look like shadow people. They can look like people you think you know. They can look like children. They can look like dogs. They're shapeshifters. But I think that was more of its natural type form that I saw. But that kind of lit a fire into me to understand what it was. I mean, it was jaw dropping thing. I was like something you see. I mean, seeing is believing. No matter what you say or what you do, we're just human that way. Seeing is believing. And that was a jaw dropping, corner turning moment for me. And it lit a fire under me to understand what it was I saw. And that's where my journey began with demonology, some of it. Of course, I've been into every aspect of the paranormal. It's UFOlogy, cryptozoology. I like to call cryptozoology. I call it Cryptozoology or Cryptid. It has a lot of elements of the paranormal to it. I've been involved in all of it. Like I say, I've told people over the years, I don't want just a slice of the pie. I want the whole pie. I like the whole thing. So
That's a
I've
good
been
way to put it.
interested in many different areas and many fields, and there are many different fields in this study. Absolutely.
Which is your favorite
Which
field?
is your favorite field?
I don't know. It's kind of hard to pick. I mean, I'm kind of partial to I'll tell you, demonology has been really rewarding in many ways because I've been able to help. I hope I've been able to help a lot of people over the years with what their demonological problems. I have counseled people all over the world. I've had consultations with people in India, South America, Alaska, all over the world, Greece, Australia. This is a worldwide problem, okay, and it crosses religious barriers, okay. And I've said this before, and I don't want to sound cynical about it, but I'm not a big believer in religion because religion is a man-made thing, okay. It's man-made quest to understand more about God, our Creator. Uh, Sometimes though it can be manipulated by man because it's a man-made thing. I'm more of the old school. I go along with the real kingdom of God. That's the real stuff, the real deal to me. But I'm not going to get into theology tonight. But I mean, that's where I'm heading from. But this problem, and you can see it becoming more and more of a problem day after day after day. You see the demonic popping up in everything: the media, schools, churches, corporations, businesses, military. It's across the board because our whole world, Josh, has been infiltrated by these forces. Okay, and I tell people a lot of times, you hear people want to talk about alien this, alien that, and all this. These guys are the original aliens to me because they're the fallen angels. They don't belong here on this planet. You and I belong here. We are sons of Earth here, okay? We're made from the Earth. We belong here. They don't belong here. They're outsiders. They're the real aliens, okay? Whatever form they may take, they can look very reptilian, I think, is their physical form. They have fallen from grace. They have lost their true beauty and perfection and holiness. It is turned into something vile and ugly and disgusting. Believe me, I have seen them face to face, and it is not a pretty sight. It definitely isn't. And but they are here, and they are here among us. They're walking the streets with us. Some of these things out there walking around, and I've said this before many times. A lot of things out there walking around just they're not human. They look human. They may look human, but they're not. You know. And here's the bad thing about it. There are humans walking around out there that are no longer humans. And I'm not talking about possessed people now. That's a different thing. Some people have lost their souls. They have become soulless people. They are lost souls. Okay. Whether it's been through drugs, alcohol, pornography, whatever their addiction might be, whatever their situation might be, there are different ways, my friend, that you can sell your soul in this world. And there's many ways you can lose it if you're not careful.
Hey, Dennis,
Hey,
I wanted to
Dennis, I wanted
a
to
couple questions before we go any further.
before we go any further.
I imagine you're referring them
I
as
imagine you're
the
referring them
Nephili.
as the Nephili.
And do you think the people who think of reptilians
People who think of reptilians
as
as
fallen angel?
fallen angel?
Yeah, they're fallen angels. Well, originally, the ones that fell out of heaven. Now, there is a contention among theologians that some of the entities that we call fallen angels and some of the things we call demons may be actually the spirits of Nephilim that remain as well. Now, when you go back to the Bible and you get into the Nephilim thing, you got to understand that they were a race of monsters that were bred against the law of God and against the creation of God. They were made out of sin and evil. And that's why when you see that part in the Bible about, Noah and all that, and why that had to happen. Because there's a very interesting statement in that where it says that God saw that the hearts of man was just continuously evil. Well, that right there shows you what kind of spiritual shape the world got into because of this. And that's what the demonic plan was all along, the plan of the fallen. I like to call them the rebel angels because that's what they are. They're rebel angels, the fallen angels. Their plan all along is to mess up the creation of God. They can't get back at God. They can't storm heaven and win. They know that. They know they can't do that. But they will try to get to God through the only way they can, and that is through us and by messing up his creation. And mankind is the epitome of God's creation on this planet. And I'm not saying there are not other planets out there that are that way, I'm not saying that. But right here on this planet, we are the epitome of God's creation, okay? We are the children of God. And if I wanted to get your worst enemy tonight and I wanted to get at you, I would go through your children or something you dearly love the most. If I can't really get to you, that's the second best choice when you think about it. That's the way that revenge game goes. And what we're seeing is the revenge of the fallen angels taking place right now among us.
Interesting. How do you think aliens or extraterrestrials kind of come into play with all this?
Extraterrestrials kind of come into play with all this.
Well, I think there's a concerted effort. The plan is still ongoing. It's not only the Nephilim was part of a DNA plan to really screw us up, DNA wise, But also it goes throughout the whole creation of God. They have messed around with animals. I think this is where you get a lot of cryptids. Okay, you hear so much about cryptids today, different types, dog man and all these other things. I think a lot of these things may be coming out of that. The ones that aren't conjured by dark magic or anything like that. You're dealing with what may be the Nephilim, the offshoot of the Nephilim. I call it the Nephilim plan. That's what it is. And if that is ongoing like I think it is, they have screwed around with nature too. As a matter of fact, I think they've screwed up even the weather. I mean, that's the way it works. They are messing with this world completely because they are the enemies of everything in this world. And I've often said about, we talk about the end of days and stuff like that. And I've often said that when you see the end of days coming, you're going to see a lot of different things happen. You're going to see, and the Bible says it specifically, the beasts of the field will turn against man. Mankind will be attacked by the beasts of the field. And that can be the cryptids as well, okay? And that includes them also. But you're going to see nature turn against us. Not only with the animals, but nature itself. And that includes earthquakes, volcanoes, storms, tornadoes, whatever, All of these things are not created by God. Because the rulers of this world, and God is not ruling this world right now, okay? They are in charge. And you know the name of the Satan is the Lord, the Prince of the power of the air. Remember what he did on that mountain with Jesus. When he took Jesus up the mountain, he showed him all the glories of the world, all the kingdoms and everything. And he said something very interesting. He said, all of this is mine, and I'll give it to you if you fall down and worship me. Well, he kind of told a half-truth. That's the way the devil works. He tells a lot of half-truths, okay, to trick you into believing the lies. But he told a half-truth. It does belong to him because you know why? He stole it. That's why Jesus specifically calls him a liar, a thief, and a murderer. That's what he is. He will lie to you very deceitfully. He will steal from you your very soul if you let him. And then he will murder you. He will kill you and condemn you to punishment. Okay? That's the way he works. And I can tell you this, my friend, right now, I know a lot of people that I have known over the years that are 6 foot under tonight, put there by these forces. This is something, a very dangerous game that's being played out around us daily.
Interesting. And you said you with the demonology,
With the demonology,
actually
I'm sorry, I didn't catch what your question was.
I said, have you actually performed?
Well, I don't do exorcisms myself. I have actually participated in some, but I'm not an exorcist. I have actually, mainly what I do in the long term is I bless places, do spiritual cleanings or clearances in places. I can also, I also bless people and help them spiritually in that way. But as for being an exorcist, actually, we're always thinking about Hollywood. Okay, Hollywood's got a different perception of things than we do, and it's usually not the right thing. A real exorcism requires a team of people, and it may go on for months. I've known some that have gone on for years. And your team consists of a psychiatrist, medical doctor. It can consist of different types of fields, not only an ecclesiastical, but it can also be nuns or priests or whatever your religious preference is on it. But it's usually a team of people, usually around about 5 or 6 people that take on an exorcism. And I have seen some very dramatic exorcisms in my time. I have seen people actually cough up nails and razor blades that they had swallowed. I have seen people crawl around on the floor like snakes and hiss and put their tongues out like snakes. That's what these demonic spirits will do to you. Here's the interesting thing about the demonic. They want to treat you lower than dirt under the doormat. Because if they can get you down even below an animal, that's what they want to do. Okay, they take your pride, your dignity away from you. They take your humanity away from you. That's the main thing they want to do. Because once you, like those people I said about earlier, the lost souls, when you lose your soul, you've lost your humanity. You're really no longer human in that respect. And that's what these things are trying to do. When they possess people, they try to, it's just like, and I've said that often, the analogy on that is like, you're in the back seat of your car and somebody else is driving. That's your body, okay, when you're possessed. And the interesting thing about this is you're still in there with those demons, okay? You don't go anywhere. You're still in there, but you're pushed down so far it's very hard for you to ever come back from that spiritually. That's just the way they operate. That's what true full blown possession is. But there are different stages of it. There is one stage, the beginning of it, I call UDDI, and that stands for under direct demonic influence. And these are the people you see that shoot up restaurants and schools and all that. And when they get through doing this, I've been in law enforcement, okay? I actually talked to a guy one time who he cut his girlfriend up in pieces, ate a little bit of her, then went home, took a shower, and took a nap. Okay? Where's the humanity in that, my friend, okay? And I asked the guy, why did you do that? And he looked at me and he said, I don't really know why. He said, I don't really know why. But I'm going to tell you something. Then they're talking to him. I could see a darkness in his eyes that is black as like a shark. You know what I'm saying? No emotion. No human emotion to it at all. To me, that is true evil. You've got human evil, but there's something worse than that. Back in the shadows, pushing it to do the things it does. That's where you have the inhuman evil factor come in. To me, that's just as dangerous as the human evil. If we just had human evil alone, that would be enough, okay? But this is the icing on the spiritual cake for them. It is even worse because it uses mental illness. It uses different things to get and accomplish its goals. And here's the way it starts. When you get under spiritual attack, we call it oppression, okay? And you hear a lot of Christian people talk about oppression. And it is a spiritual warfare attack against you, okay? But it can come in many different ways, but it's always looking for one very important thing. The chink in your armor. The weak point in your armor is what it's looking for, and that's what it'll go after every time. So wherever you're weakest at, whether mentally, physically, spiritually, or emotionally, those are 4 things that make you you. They make you a living soul. And these are the 4 gates through which they will attack many times. And wherever you're weakest at, whether it's physical or mental, whatever the situation, that's where they're going to go. Like sharks smelling blood in the water, they're going to go for it. And that's why it's so very important that when you put on the armor of God, that you keep that armor in good condition. Because that armor is very important. Don't let there be any chinks in it or holes for the enemy to get through. You've got to secure your armor. Put it on, but yeah, that's good. But you got to secure that armor and make sure it's working essential. Just like when I was a policeman. Every night we would check our bulletproof vest. We would check our uniform. We'd check our equipment. I even had my bullets blessed.
Was
You
there a
always make sure
particular
your equipment's working, and that comes true when it comes to the armor of God, as well.
Was there a certain occasion why you need bullets?
Well, there have been a lot of instances. I think, without a doubt, this world is sick, There's a sickness in this world. It is sin, okay? And it shows up in everything. And I've seen that as a law enforcement. I'm retired law enforcement now. I've done it for a long time, yeah. But it shows in everything, not just law enforcement. It's everywhere. Like I said earlier, it has invaded every aspect of our society, It's everywhere. That's why you've got to be on guard all the time, spiritually especially. I've often told a lot of people you got to make sure you got your spiritual bulletproof vest on, okay? You got to be sure you got the right equipment on and that you're ready for the things that you may come up against out there. Because let me say this, and I'm not trying to scare people. I'm not about negativity, okay? I'm all about positive, good vibes, okay? But I would be falling down on my job if I didn't warn you about your enemy. It's like that old saying, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. You need to know what your enemies are up to all the time. And you need to know how they operate. And that's where real true demonology comes into. As a doctor of metaphysics, I study the unseen aspects of this universe, what you don't see, okay? The spiritual aspects of this thing. That's why some people call me a supernaturalist. I'm not into the old time spiritualist stuff now. That's a different thing altogether. I don't do seances and stuff like that. But I'm a supernaturalist. That means I look at the supernatural aspects of things. And I mean, what can be more supernatural than God when you think about it? Okay, He is the supreme supernatural thing in this universe. But there's so much that we don't see, so much going on in the world. We have to open our spiritual eyes, or have God open our spiritual eyes to understand what's going on around us and the things that are affecting us day in and day out. We are bombarded constantly by this under direct demonic influence, constantly from the media, from every aspect. That includes the government and all that. One of the biggest lies in the world, and I'm going to do a show pretty soon called The 7 Deadly Lies. We're being fed a lot of lies, okay? One of the worst lies that has ever been told or given to humanity is the belief in reincarnation. I'm not going to get into that tonight, but that's one of the big lies, okay? And another big lie is that the government can solve your problems. That's a big lie. That don't work. Yeah, there's a lot of lies that we're being told and given day in and day out. We're constantly being lied to. And but that's okay. That happens, all right? But here's the bad part. We're believing the lies. We're beginning to believe the lies. That's the dangerous part. I can sit here all day and tell you one lie after another.
We live
when
in
you
an
start
age
believing them, that's when it gets dangerous. That's the problem with lies, and we are being fed lied to. I don't know if remember this, but as a kid, I guess you were told that the whole world's already been explored. We know everything about it. That's another big lie. Okay, that's not true. There's a whole lot of the world that we don't know nothing about, especially underground. But those are lies that we get fed. Yeah, we get fed all kind of lies, and that's what really. And here's what I said. I said this on my show the other night. Okay, you can step on my blue suede shoes, and I might let you get by with that. Okay, but when you lie to me, that insults my intelligence, and that's where I draw the line. Okay. Lying is insulting your intelligence to a great degree, getting you to believe something that's not true. Simply because it's detrimental to you in one way or another, may even cost you your life. It can definitely, if you're not careful, cost you your soul. And that's the dangerous things that's going on. And we're being lied to. They're misrepresenting themselves. They're misinforming us. They are misrepresenting. They are misinterpreting everything for us. Once upon a time, we were talking about this the other day. When I was in school, I used to study journalism. Okay, I was thinking about being a reporter one day. I never did it. But here's the thing: back in the old days, I don't know. You're probably too young to remember this, but back in the old days, once upon a time, reporters just reported the news. They didn't give you an opinion on it. Think about that a moment. Okay.
Yeah, I haven't watched the modern
years.
Yep. Yeah. Well, see, you're being slowly brainwashed, and you don't even know it. There's not, unless you really open yourself up to understand what's going on around you in this world today. You're being slowly manipulated every which way you look, every which way you turn. Manipulation is going on, and it's not for your best interest. They're not doing this for your good. They're doing this against you. It is a mark against you that they're doing. These are your enemies. And I've said this before. Fear and lies are the enemy of faith and truth. Okay? And that's where they're coming from at that. Because they know if you know the truth, it will enhance your faith. And your faith will enhance your truth. They know that, and that's why they hate it so much, and they fight against it to destroy that. Fear is what they use. Fear to intimidate you. You and I both know as podcasters right now, there are certain subjects we can't talk about. Oh, we'll get in big trouble. We know that. Okay, there's certain things that with certain areas we have to stay out of. If we want to remain, if we want to remain podcasters, okay. If we don't want to get shadow banned and all that, there are certain areas we have to be very careful with. That is intimidation, my friend. Okay, we are being intimidated constantly. There are, and I call this, okay, the first thing that they'll say about you, oh, you're a racist. Or you're this or that. They immediately attack your reputation. I call it reputation assassination. That's what it is. They will try to destroy your reputation. They will do it very quickly, too. They don't care how much it ruins your life or what it costs you. They don't care, because that's just what kind of people you're dealing with here, okay? But let me say this. My father once told me years ago, we never had any money or all that. He said, you're born into this world with nothing. You take nothing out of this world, but there is one thing you can leave with, and that's a good name. So, just look at you, for instance, okay? You have a reputation to uphold. That is precious to you. That's your name. That's who you are. That's what you are. And if I come along and try to destroy that, I am your worst enemy, my friend. Because I'm really striking at the heart of who you are and how you operate. That's reputation assassination. That's what it is. And you see that going on constantly. Look at all the political stuff going on with that. Okay, I won't even get into politics.
I got it.
But I mean, yeah. And the one thing, they immediately tag you as a racist. You ain't a racial bone in your body, but they'll still call you that because they're trying to assassinate your reputation. That makes you, if they can render you ineffectual, then you're one piece took off the board. Right. And that's the way they operate.
Staring this into another. How do you get into ufology?
How did I get? Well, I'm sorry, I did not catch that.
How did you get into ufology?
Did you have
Oh, demonology?
Yeah. No, ufology.
Well, to me, I think my policy on that would be you can't let fear intimidate you. Okay, you can't let fear. Here's what I got a saying. Okay, I like to make up saying. Being a writer, I like to write these things down. Okay, make it simple for people. Here's what I say. Okay, fear is the enemy. Don't live in fear, and don't let fear live in you. That's the way you got to operate. You got to try to keep that fear down as much as possible, because what is the number one way they control you? With fear. That's the way they work. They want to split us up, divide us. They want to have us against each other racially, religiously, politically. They want to keep us divided against each other because, as Jesus said, a house divided cannot stand. You can conquer and manipulate and control people a whole lot easier when you divide them up so they won't be united. Once we unite, once we get together as one, we can be unstoppable. They know that, okay? And here's another thing. I told a lady this today. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And here's I told a lady this today. I said, the darkness wants to keep us as a victim because it fears us as a warrior. Okay, be a warrior. Okay, don't be the victim. But they love that victimization because that's another way to control people. Just like I said about that assassination, reputation assassination, they want to make you a victim, and they want you to succumb to that victimology thing that gets in your mind. Oh, I'm a victim, and that's it. You know, I feel so sorry, and they want to defeat you that way. That's a little trick that they use, okay? I call them demon tricks. And the demons are good at this kind of thing. Even when you meet them one-on-one, they use these things against you, okay? And I have known them to be so sensitive, they can even pick up almost what you're feeling and use that against you. If you feel fear, then they'll go with that. They'll use that against you. Or if you feel hatred, they'll use that against you. Whatever the emotion is, they are super sensitive. They pick up on it, and they turn these things around and use them as weapons against you. That's just how insidious these guys are, okay? And that's how they operate. And we got to understand, we need to know how our enemy does these things, you know? I've had people ask me, though, they say, do they read your mind? I don't think they can. I think they can give you suggestions. Okay. Very good suggestions and try to control you that way. But I don't think they can read your innermost thoughts. But like I said, they are so super sensitive. They pick up on your emotions. That's why I'm at one of those gates I talked about is your emotions. Okay. Keep your emotions in check because they can manipulate you. Here's a quick example, okay? You're watching a horror movie, and the spooky music starts, okay? What's the spooky music for? It's to scare you and play on. It's what? Manipulating your emotions. Yeah, that's the way it works. And that's the way the demonic works. They can use your emotions against you. I've had a lot of people say, well, I didn't feel scared. Well, I didn't feel this or that. I said, well, maybe you were being manipulated to believe that. You have to be very careful how you approach these things.
I want to jump into another topic. That's it. I see you post about werewolves often.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that last part.
I see you post Dogmen and werewolves on your page.
Werewolves and stuff like that. Oh yeah, cryptids. Yeah, there are certain cryptids that are considered to be dark magic or stuff like that. The werewolf is one of them. Vampires is that. I have actually done some vampire hunting. I've actually done some werewolf hunting. These things do exist. They are real, just as real as you and I are, although they're not the way Hollywood depicts them, okay? Like I said, we got to forget about Hollywood, okay? Hollywood is Hollyweird, as I like to call it, is way out there somewhere else. and that's why I have studied folklore on a lot of these things. I have actually had several vampire cases. I've actually had several werewolf cases. These things are real, but they are usually demonic in nature. That's what drives them. Okay. If I were a werewolf, I could put on the magic belt, the werewolf belt. It gives me the power to shapeshift. Okay, I'm going to talk about that in a minute. Did you know
You're
that
referring
if
to like
you...
You're referring to like
mythology, right?
mythology, right?
Yeah, well, you know, if you rise in the ranks in dark witchcraft, you are given certain powers. You have to do terrible things to get that, though. But the higher up on the witchcraft or Luciferian ladder you go, the more demonic power you are given. But you have to torture and murder people to do that to a certain extent, and eat people and do all. I won't get into what you got to do it. Okay, it's not a good subject. But the higher up you go, the more power you are given. That's why, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. You see a lot of these rituals on pop star stages now. You see a lot of rituals going on. Why is that? I'll tell you why. They are using these rituals, and you, by watching them, okay, you're participating in it whether you know it or not. If you watch it, you're in it, okay? You are helping them raise their power, their cone of power. What do you think they're all covens of witches for? They're not social clubs. They're not getting together talking about how they knit wool socks for people. No, they're not doing that. They're getting together to raise their cone of demonic power. Okay? And they do it by what? They do it by rituals. They do it by murder, blood sacrifices, and all this other stuff. Okay? And in order to get this power, they can turn into things. They can turn into werewolves. They can turn into vampires. They can turn into tigers. They can turn into leopards and panthers, dogs, whatever they want to. They can take these shapes and forms. There are many, many, many stories in the Appalachian Mountains of witchcraft, dark witchcraft, turning people into black panthers and leopards and stuff like that. I mean, this goes on. And a lot of these so-called phantom sightings of these large black cats that they say are not supposed to be there, and I've been on the trail of them. I've hunted them out in the woods, actually. I think a lot of these things are conjured. They're part of a conjuring way, because what do you want to accomplish when you raise that cone of power is to get the shape-shifting ability, get all the power, the money, fame, and glory that you want, and you can open portals and call things through from the darkness to do things for you. If I were, and I've heard of this, okay, if I were a black warlock tonight and I wanted to come after you, Josh, okay, I could call something to that dark, from the dark, to come after you and come out of a mission on something like a dog man or something like that. And it would not stop till it gets you, one way or the other, okay?
Can't you reverse it?
I've
always
That's the way this stuff works. I have had, let me tell you one item I got here. I've had death curses put on me, okay? I had this thing sticky, you don't see it, big knife, sticky in my front yard one day. I found out it's a death curse that was put on me, okay? Of course, I'm still here, though, by the way, all right? But I have had several of these incidents where they have actually tried to put death curses on me. Because I know some stuff, they would like to get rid of me, but I don't care. That's not going to stop me. I got somebody watching over me a whole lot more powerful than they are, okay? But that's the way these guys work. They can put death curses. I had a black warlock tell me to my face one time, said I could curse you to death. I said, yeah, well, good luck with that. You know, it ain't gonna happen because here's the funny part about it. Okay, here's the psychological part about it. They will always let you know you got a death curse on you. That's part of the psychological part. They try to get you to believe in it, and therefore, if you believe in it, then it gives it more power over you. There's that fear factor again I talked about earlier. Fear does that to you. You know, it can get your mind. It can manipulate your spirit if you let it. But that's the way these things work. So these people can do all kinds of things. Okay. Sure, there are werewolves. Sure, there are vampires. I met one time in a cemetery. Now, I'm not talking about human vampires, although there are a lot of them, but there are also inhuman vampires, reanimated, demonically reanimated corpses. Those are vampires. Okay. And there are demonic vampire spirits that can attach to people and drain the life out of them, not just suck your blood out. It's not, they can also drain the very essence of your life force from you. Have you ever met somebody and when you got through talking to them, you just felt completely drained for some reason? You ever meet somebody like that? Maybe you ran into a psychic vampire. Yeah. Yeah. Well, here's another good thing about it, and I'll tell everybody listening. Don't let these people touch you, okay? It's not, I'm going to say this. We got a bad habit in this country of shaking hands, everybody we meet. We don't really need to do that, okay? Because you really do not want some people to touch you for some very important reasons, okay? Because once they do that, they can do some other things to you as well. I hate to be, down on the handshaking, but be very careful who you shake hands with and who you say, or who you let touch you or get in your private space. Because some of these people can put spells on you. They can do all kinds of junk that you don't know. They're coming from a different direction than you think. Okay, and a lot of people come to me over the years. Say, why is this happening? I got a curse on me, and I got this going on. And come to find out, they put themselves in those situations. They let people come in their home that were witches and do these things to them. No wonder they had this stuff happen, Let me tell you a quick case I had one time. Well, this lady called me. She was very distraught. And she called me, and she said, I've lived in this house 20 years. I never had nothing going on. So now doors are opening. Water's getting turned on and off. I lock doors and I find them open later. All kind of weird, creepy stuff's going on, Well, the first thing I ask, I always interview people. First thing I asked, I said, well, you're not playing around with witchcraft and Ouija boards, are you? She said, oh, no, I'm not. I don't do nothing like that. I go to church, I'm not going to do anything like that. I said, okay, good. I have to ask you that, starting off. But I said, is there anything that anyone or anything that you've brought into your house recently? And then she said, no, there's nobody coming. But she said, well, I did buy this little love seat at a garage sale. And I said, oh, that's very interesting. I said, go back to where you bought that and find out the history on that. Well, she called me about a week later, and she said, how did you know there was something wrong with that love seat? I said, I didn't know. I'm just guessing. Why? What's wrong with it? She said, well, a man committed suicide on that love seat. And I said, that's your problem right there. Get rid of that love seat, and your house will return to normal. Of course, you need to get it cleansed spiritually as well. But I said, get it out of your house, because you have to be very, very careful what you bring into your life, okay? We have to be very careful about doors, the doors that we open in our lives, whatever they may be, and what comes in them. I've had a lot of cases, where people will be sitting at home and they hear knock on the door, doorbell rings, they immediately get up and go open the door. That's not a good idea. Especially if you don't look at, who might be out there. But a lot of times they'll come back and say, well, there was nothing there. I said, you didn't open the door, did you? Because sometimes these things want to be let in, just like vampires have to be invited in, okay? These things, the demonic and these dark entities, they recognize authority, okay? And as Christians, we have authority over them. They know that, by the way. They don't want you to know that. That's a big secret they want to keep, okay? Because that's giving away a lot of their power. But we have authority over them. Jesus gave us that authority. He died on the cross so that we could have that authority, okay? Over them. We need to start exercising authority over these things in our lives and keep them out. Keep them out of our houses, our lives, the lives of our children, and people that we love. We need to start using that authority.
Interesting. Again, everybody, we apologize about the echo.
Yeah. Something doesn't really want us to do anything with that, don't they? Sometimes it seems like the powers that be are definitely working against you.
Right. Have you had any alien experiences?
I actually saw a UFO experience. For many years, I investigated UFOs, and here was my original thought about them. I thought that about 90% of them were just misidentified stuff. You know, people were misconstruing something or thinking that, they were seeing Venus or something and they thought it was something else. I thought about 90% of it was probably that, and that kind of left the 10% I didn't know about. Well, one day I ran into the 10%, okay? And it happened to me. I was uptown. I had been walking that day, and I was standing on the sidewalk cooling off before I got back in my truck and go home. I had a little route that I walked uptown, on the sidewalk up there for my health. And it had been an overcast day. It was kind of, the clouds were very low. And I kept watching the clouds, because I didn't want to get caught out in the middle of my walk in the rain, And I was just standing there cooling off, looking back over the horizon a little bit, and I saw something in the clouds coming towards me. Well, I said, what the heck is that? Is that an airplane or what? And I have seen everything. I mean, everything that flies, okay? I've seen gliders, I've seen rockets, I've seen everything that flies. This was like nothing I'd ever seen before. It was a triangular craft, probably the size of a football field. Now, I used to play a lot of football, so I know how big a football field is. You would have had a hard time setting this thing down in a football field, okay? That's how big it was. It was sort of a dark black. It was no shiny black. It was just sort of a dark metallic black. And it didn't have any lights on because this was it. It wasn't quite twilight. It wasn't dark, And it was coming over me, and it passed over me. And I would have to estimate the airspeed of this thing was around 200 or 300 miles an hour as it passed over me. I've seen the Blue Angels go over me, and they weren't as fast as this thing was, okay? And
Wow.
I just got the feeling it had absolutely no sound at all to it. No sound. I've seen everything I've ever seen fly. It includes hot air balloons and Goodyear blimps and everything. They all make a noise. Okay. This did not make a noise at all. And I'm sitting there with my mouth hanging open looking at this thing. It was close enough, as we say in the South, I could have hit it with a rock, okay? That's how close it was over me. And it had a very faint purplish-like glow to it. The whole ship, the whole craft. I've never seen anything like it or since. And it passed over me that quickly. I even had a phone in my pocket. Didn't even think one time I pulled it out, taking a picture of this. I was so startled by it, That's the way it goes with things of the paranormal and weird stuff. They're always unexpected, okay? If you could plan for them. I told a woman that one time. I said, lady, if I can make the paranormal appear for me when I wanted to. I'd be a very rich man. You can't do that. It just don't work
Right.
that way. And this thing was like, over my head that quick. And I'm standing there going, did I see that? It was so startled by it. I even went back. I remember I went back and told my uncle about it, And he said, well, I don't know what you saw, but I know you saw something because, you were so upset by it. I know I could see how it affected you, And I found out later that same day that a woman not too far away from there saw the same thing I did. And she would not go on. She wouldn't talk about it. I wanted to get her deposition on it, but she would not talk about it or anything. But then that's when the really weird stuff started. Okay. It wasn't just seeing that UFO or whatever it was. And somebody asked me the last time I talked about this, said, well, what do you think it was? I'm going to say, I do not know. I do not know what it was. But if we have something like that in our military, we could take over the world tomorrow. That's what I can tell you about that. If we got something like that, no power on this earth could stop us. I don't think I said it was military looking like, but I don't know whose military it is or what military it is, where it comes from. That's all I can say about it, because I really can't tell you what it is. But after that happened, I filed a report with MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network. It's me. I filed a report with them.
Yes.
And never heard back. I never heard anything like that. So I checked them a couple of years later, and I said, didn't you guys ever get that report? They said, no, it never got to us. Okay. But right after this happened, I started getting followed by government vans, government SUVs. They started following me around. They started circling around my house. I had a black unmarked helicopter circle over my house. I had some of the weirdest phone calls you have ever heard, like robotic talking. I had my mail tampered with. I was followed for days at a time. I got to where I was getting downright, paranoid about it. I mean, it just started up, and they were following me, and they were like, saying, we can touch you anytime we want, kind of a thing, And they still do it from time to time. Every now and then, one will come by my house. It's like they're just saying, oh, we're still here, and we can touch you anytime we want, But I had weird things happen after that, and a lot of strange incidents, people getting in my yard. Like I say, I began to wonder if my house was bugged. It was weird stuff going on. And I was living, you remember that movie, The Mothman Prophecies?
Yeah.
I was living the Mothman Prophecies. I was living that movie. It's that weird it got. But I talked about that in my book, The Road Unseen. When I was finishing that book, it started up again. So they were still there, And every once in a while, I check them out. They're still showing up once in a great while. They know I'm here. But that was weird.
And that's the road.
What?
Dennis, your book's titled Road Unseen.
Your book.
I'm sorry, I'm going to have to get you to repeat that. I think you broke up a little bit on me there. You're breaking up a little bit.
Sorry. I said your book called Road Unseen. And where can we buy your book?
Okay, yeah. Oh, my book. The road. It's called the Road Unseen, and it can be found on Amazon, on Barnes and Noble. Just look up DennisWCarroll.com. That's my website. It's on my website as well. And I have several books. I have another one called Beyond the Shadows, and it's a field guide to the paranormal. And I have a lot of people pack that when they go on investigations and all that. It just kind of helps you understand some things and the way you need to investigate certain things. Like if you can investigate cryptids a whole lot different than you do what I like to call it spiritual research, but some people call it ghost hunting. Okay, but there's different ways you go about paranormal investigation. Um, so I got that in the book as well, and my podcasts are on YouTube. That's Hunting the Shadows. Wednesday nights at 9 o'clock. All of my shows come on at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay. And I have 3 shows. The Road Less Traveled on Monday nights, Hunting the Shadows on Wednesday, and on Friday nights, Paranormal Point of View. I'm all over the board.
To check.
I said maybe we get together again. We'll have our sound problems solved.
Right, absolutely. We'll have to try to.
Well, I was going to use my headphones tonight, but the darn things died on me. I can't get them to work. I don't know what happened to them, so I'll have to give me a new set of headphones. Maybe we'll be better next time. That's right.
That's probably fix the issue.
Yeah.
But thanks everybody who dealt with the echo.
Yep. Sorry about that. Maybe
It's
we
all
sound
good.
better
It's all
twice
good.
with an echo.
Maybe. Do you have anything else you want to say to the audience?
Well, let me just say this, like I said earlier about the fear, don't let the fear factor get to you. Don't let it manipulate you. And just be careful what you let in your lives and the things you let in your lives. Let me say this, okay? The more darkness that you have in you, the more darkness from the outside is attracted to it. It draws to you like a magnet. If you have light in you, is this what Jesus said in the Bible? The eyes are the windows of the soul, okay? The more light you have in you, the better. The less darkness you have, you will feel better for it. So keep more light in your life and more darkness out. You'll have a better life. The more negative you keep out, the more positive you are with stuff, the better off you'll be. And it sort of makes a bumper against the dark stuff. And it keeps you kind of like on Star Trek. It puts your shields up, and keeps this stuff away from you. So be positive as much as possible. Be faithful, and use your faith against these things. And wear that armor of God. Absolutely.
That's an awesome way to put it. And a great way to leave.
Yep.
Thanks, everybody.